Carbondale, October 14th, 2020 meeting. Our guest speaker today is John Woody Almind. Am I saying that correctly, John?
That's correct, Rick.
Air Force Colonel retired. All right. Welcome to our meeting. I'm going to jump over here to maybe. Welcome to our Rotary meeting. Sharon, you were our greeter today, but it's all right. Maybe we'll slide you in next week. Or you can introduce our guests. How about that? Could have Mr. Gil Cronin. Could you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Be happy to. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the
United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under
God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Time for our moment of reflection. Moment of reflection today is led by Jerry Malumbi.
Yes, we have very important hearings going on in Washington today, this week, and I wanted to get something regarding the Supreme Court. So I asked Cindy Bies for a suggestion, and she came up with this one. The Supreme Court is not the impetus for institutional change. We are.
Very good. All right. Next on our agenda today is our song time. So we're going to go right into one of our favorite songs for the day, or for Rotary here.
If you sing a song, be weary, just be cheery all day long. Whenever your trials, your troubles, and your cares seem to be more than you could really bear, oh cheer. And oh, smiles with you, sing a song.
Right. Great job, Rotary Carbondale Noon Choir.
We miss Gail's piano.
Yes. All right. Go back to our share here. It's time for the introduction of our guests. Sharon, would you mind jumping in and introducing guests today?
I apologize. I should have put it in my phone. I was at an eye doctor's appointment and just got home and completely forgot.
That's all right. We're not mad at you.
Okay. Let me put it on gallery view so I can see everybody. Well, I can't. Rick, can you unmute? I guess as far as I can see, our only guest is our speaker. And other than that, I can't see everybody with your screen up there. I'm just seeing like 5 people.
That's
so
all right.
Is there anyone who's a guest?
The only other guest we have right now is our prospective member, Nick Skovgaard.
Oh, hi, Nick.
All right.
How are you guys?
Great.
Doing well. Thank you.
Great.
Welcome, everyone. Some club announcements. Our 100 Little Things virtual board update. We've got 32 projects completed, and I will kick in right now that we are getting very close to completing our 100 Pints of Blood project. And mark your calendars, Egyptian Electric is having a blood drive on Election Day. So after you go and vote early, or if you've already voted, it's a great opportunity to head up to Egyptian Electric and donate blood. I think Shane said we're only 11 pints away, so we're getting very close here.
Where do you report if you've given blood?
Just send a note to Shane or myself, and we'll make sure we add you to the list and keep track of that. So if you've done it again recently, send us a note.
Well, I gave a double a couple months ago.
Okay, we might already have that. If you brought it up in a meeting already, it's probably already on the list. But
Okay.
all right, so our 100 little things, as always, head over to rotaryofcarbondale.org/centennial for our 100 little things updates. We've done everything from service hours, planting trees, trash pickup. We're still going strong. So 32 projects done and 30 plus more underway. Our club duties, please make sure that in our weekly email that goes out, there's a link for the doodle polls for upcoming. We had just about every spot filled for this week, so thank you all. We'll continue to add those in. I'll try and add them to the chat a little later on here this morning, and if you can sign up for one of those, please do so. Active service projects. I don't have an update on lunch today from Patty, but we've been continuing to supply lunch at the warming center, and I don't see Gail on the call today, but I know that the warming center is looking for financial contributions. They're writing some more grants, but they're running low on their funding for the year. But they're also in need of toiletries items, soaps, shampoos, etc., and plastic totes for storing items. So please, if you do have those items, please head on over to the warming center, drop those off, let us know, and we can keep track of that in our 100 things. Oh. His ears must have been burning because Gail is joining the call now. I'll jump back one notch there. Good morning, Gail.
Good morning. Sorry to be late.
Unacceptable. Don't let it happen again.
I think it's a fine.
It's all right. We were just talking about the warming center. Do you have any updates on the warming center? Any materials or any other needs they have? I did mention that they're looking for funding still.
No, I think that's the main thing they could use now. They're always open for all the supplies we've talked about before, hygiene supplies, plastic storage tubs, and shelving. But I think financial help is what their biggest need is at the moment.
Okay. Thank you, Gail. Speaking of financial help, our foundation donation challenge, our club matching donations up to $100 for each month. We're booked all the way through June of 2021. So if you've got it in your heart and you can jump onto this list, please let us know, and we will add you to the list and continue our foundation club, our matching club donations as we continue into 2021. Time for some district news. The district membership challenge is ongoing. The club that gains the most new members or reinstated members will get $100 donated to the club. Additionally, our own club is doing an additional contest, and we'll have a match, a foundation donation match in somebody's name for whoever in our club gains the most new members. So we have 2 prospective members already that are on the list for submission for our board meeting next week, and then those will be brought forth to the rest of the committee. Rotary International news. Got polio eradication. We're going to continue to emphasize this, that Africa is polio free, but we do still need additional donations to the Polio Plus Fund and to continue that fight. Afghanistan and Pakistan still have what I would consider at this point a high amount of cases. We're getting very close, and we need the continued support for that fight. All right, I've talked enough. Now it's time for the rest of you. It's time for your good news. Who's got some good news to share today? Don't all speak up at once.
I'll
Well,
go first,
I'll-
Rick. Oh, sorry.
No,
Go
go
on.
ahead, Carl.
I was going to mention that I think Linda last week mentioned the good news about the census being continued through the end of October, and I'm sorry to say that that was premature because the Supreme Court has ruled that the census for 2020 is ending tomorrow, October 15. So if you haven't filled your census out, and I don't need to harp on it anymore or anything, that the census is in fact done, and those who are going to be counted will be counted. The other good news I want to mention, I do a lot of Zooms and things, even though I'm retired, but I have just found out how to get, even when there are presenters presenting, that I'm still able to get everyone's picture on my screen, because you can use your mouse to scoot the size of the PowerPoint presentation back to the left, and it'll increase the number of actually people on your screen while decreasing the size of the actual PowerPoint. Just a thought.
My good news today, am I being heard?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, my good news today is that as of tomorrow, I will be coming to you from 847 Westlake Road. But also good news, today I managed to come to you from the 3rd floor of Memorial Hospital. I am doing well and happy to interact with everybody. I got a special garment so that you didn't know exactly where I was. So you see me in a red blouse? Well, I don't get to wear that every day. So hello, everybody, and everything is going fine.
Good to hear.
Good to hear you're doing well, and we're glad to see you here, Ella.
Thank you.
I'll share some good news.
So I have a quick bit of good news to throw in. I just sent Shane photos. We got tree number 1 planted out of 5 today, and Shane has a picture of our white oak tree being planted. So we got one of our 5 planted and 4 more to go.
Great.
Very good, Nick. I was going to share some proud mama news today. Some of you know my son, Jacob, who is now a senior at Michigan State University in engineering. And Jacob is participating in his first National Engineering Conference today, where he's presenting 2 papers that he co-wrote in engineering research. So I'm just a proud mama today.
Wow, fantastic.
And I have an announcement on behalf of Shane. I already talked about the blood drive, but Shane is in and out of the meeting today with some work items. But on Saturday, November 7th, there is an electronics recycling event happening at Egyptian Electric. So if you've got some electronics you need to get rid of, I know a lot of us have been cleaning houses. We're sitting in our houses. So it's a great opportunity to get those over there. So that's Saturday, November 7th. Save the date. Also, Saturday, November 7th, and this is a little bit premature because we don't have all the details ironed out yet. We are having a try it before you buy it scout event. So I don't even have a location 100% set in stone yet, but we're going to have some great Cub Scout activities available, working on some potential shooting ranges and some outdoor activities for kids. That we're going to be social distance and following a lot of strict guidelines, but we're going to have a free event for folks to be there. So. Anyone else with some good news or announcements to share today? All right, hearing none. Sergeant at Arms, Mr. White, the floor is yours.
Oh, I think the only thing I'm aware of that's finable today is my late arrival for the meeting today. And then, Carl, if you can get an address for me to send a fine notification to the Supreme Court for changing course on the deadline for the census, I'll be glad to send a fine notification to them.
Thank you, Gail. I'm sure they'll appreciate that fine that we send them. I'm wondering how large of a bill we can send to those 8 individuals right now, and see what kind of foundation contributions we can get. All right, now I'm going to stop sharing my screen here momentarily because we've reached that time in the meeting for our guest speaker, and our guest speaker today is Mr. John Woody Almind, U.S. Air Force Colonel, retired. So I'm going to stop my share, and I've got a quick intro for him, and then we'll start the share again with his slideshow. So Mr. John P. Woody Almind is a retired United States Air Force colonel. He served more than 30 years in the U.S. Air Force as an air refueling tanker pilot. Woody is currently serving as a U.S. Air Force Civil Service employee assigned to Headquarters Air Mobility Command at Scott Air Force Base in Illinois. He serves as Deputy Chief Nuclear Operations Division, directing 34 active duty Air Reserve component and civilian action officers as the command's single integrated focal point for nuclear policies. Woody is also involved with several community organizations. He's a member of the O'Fallon Rotary Club in O'Fallon, Illinois. He's an usher and adult Sunday school teacher at O'Fallon First United Methodist Church. He's a member of the Airlift Tanker Association at Scott Air Force Base, a member of the Military Offers Association of America. He's a board member at the St. Louis Air and Space Museum in Cahokia, Illinois, and a flight captain, order of, I'm going to mess that up, but Dedalians. It's a pilot fraternity at the Scott Air Force Base. He's married to Marilyn and have 2 children, Brandon and Della. From the Rotary side of things, his accomplishments include he's a current member of the District 6510 membership team. He's the current membership chair of the O'Fallon Rotary Club until 2022. He's on the O'Fallon Rotary Club Veterans Committee. He's the chair from 2016 to 2020, and he's the past president of the O'Fallon Rotary Club. So welcome, Woody, to our meeting, and we'll get you started here. The floor is yours.
Okay, thanks a lot, Rick. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine right now.
Okay, great. In the O'Fallon Rotary Club, I'm known for my outstanding jokes. Not really, but I'm going to give you one anyhow. So why did the Clydesdale give the pony a glass of water? Because he was a little horse. Ah, good. I got one laughing. Good deal.
Oh.
Yeah, they're kind of dad jokes, so sorry about that. So like Rick said, I'm a member of the District 6510 Veterans Affairs Committee. We were formed about 5 years ago, and I've been a member since then. So next slide, Vic. Okay, this is our basically our committee right now. Actually, Phil Goodwin from my club is also, he wasn't at this meeting, but on the left there is Casey Sharvin from my club. Many of you know Lane and Mary Harvey, the couple right there. Lane started the committee when he was the district governor for 6510. Next to Lane is Mary Alice Coriath. She was with the Lebanon Club, and she joined our club about 2 years ago, and that's me on the right. Next slide. Okay, so Rick introduced me. I just wanted to put some of my hero shots up here. That's me upper left in my KC-135 tanker cockpit back in the day. Upper right is a long time ago. That's me in pilot training at Laughlin Air Force Base, Del Rio, Texas, back in '84, just out of the academy. Lower left are just some of my mentors, some of the generals I've worked with over the years, and happened to snap a picture of them when we were all together at the club here at Scott Air Force Base, and then that's my official photo as a colonel in the Air Force. Next slide. Yeah, so this is the purpose of the Veterans Affairs Committee. Next slide. Okay, this is kind of a busy slide. I just highlighted a couple things here. The District 6510 Veterans Affairs Committee started 6 years ago thanks to the vision, compassion of our very own Lane Harvey with the, he's with the Mount Vernon Club, and he was then district governor in 2014, 2015. And then besides TAV, we do Reads Across America, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. Every third Saturday of December, we do several wreath layings in numerous cemeteries around the district, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. But basically, 5 years ago, at the bottom of this slide, Carterville Club, Jim Kuntz, started placing honor wreaths on veterans' graves at Jefferson Barracks, and our district is now placing more than 6,000 wreaths on veterans' graves throughout our district. Next slide, Rick. So TAV, Disabled Veteran, some of you may be familiar. It's an organization, I think it's actually in Marion, near you guys, but I'm going to talk about that. So next slide, Rick. So this is their mission statement, TAV, and I'll let you read that. Next slide, Rick. These are a couple of the veterans. I actually don't know these guys, but I love the pictures of these veterans with their dogs. And I'll show you some of our veterans and our dogs here in future slides. Okay, so basically, bottom line, we raised $25,000. Each dog was, back in the day, $25,000 to grow a dog in about a year. And I'll explain where those expenses go here shortly. But in the district raised $25K in 2015, 2016. Our first Rotary dog was Memphis. Memphis and veteran Sam Hoekstra teamed up in April of 16. Our next dog was purchased with $25K in 2016-17, and that was Rotary dog Oliver. Oliver and Vietnam vet Mark teamed up in September of 17. As of June of 18, we raised over $14K, and at our September 19 TAV Rotary fundraiser here in O'Fallon, we raised over $36,000. One of our O'Fallon Rotarians, Dave Chumley, donated he and his wife donated $25,000, and we've got over $50,000 raised right now. We just had a graduation in September at the TAV campus near Marion, where we got to meet our third Rotary dog, Mary Catherine, or MCAT, and she'll be teamed up with a veteran here next year in 2021. Each dog, with cost of living, I guess, it now costs $30,000 to raise a dog. Next slide. So when we first started this 6 years ago, the number of veterans taking their lives each day was 22. And luckily, happily, the nation has reduced that to 20. But as you know, one is too many suicides. And we're still working hard at getting this number down. Rotary District 6510 obviously is doing something to change this. And we ask you to support HOPE. And we support wholeheartedly Disabled Veterans. Next slide. So TAV is a 501c3 that was voted not-for-profit status in October of 11. To date, we've paired 66 veterans with service dogs, and we currently have 5 pups in training, and 1 dog is left from the 2020 class. Basically, the organization gets most of their dogs from a place in Nebraska, and we this past year we drove them here in a van, and And basically the cost is each dog has its own trainer. As soon as the dog is brought home, shortly after, they basically go with their trainer. So they do a lot of training at TAV itself, but a lot of training at home. And then about 3 weeks before the dogs are ready to be matched with their veteran, the organization brings the veterans in from across the U.S. We had a Spokane, Washington veteran get a dog here in September, and a young lady from Washington, D.C. We fly the veterans in. We put them up in a hotel in Marion for 3 weeks, and they go daily out to TAV to work with the dogs, and then we have a graduation where the trainers hand over the dogs tearfully to the veteran, and the veterans immediately go home or sent home with their dogs, and it usually leads to a very great life compared to what the veterans had before they were paired with the dogs. Next slide. So yeah, another busy slide. Like I said, it takes a year to grow the dog. That 3 week out is a trauma resilience program, TRP, with 6 to 10 pairs of veterans and service dogs. The class, like I said, runs for 21 days. And yeah, that's all I wanted to point out from this slide. Next slide, Rick. So this is our first Rotary dog, Memphis, with his veteran, Sam. Sam and Memphis are doing awesome. Since Sam and Memphis were paired up about 5 years ago, Sam has gotten married to a really great lady, Catherine, and they have a baby, Oliver. I follow them on Facebook, and they're doing really well. And that's the organizational president behind the podium there, Behe Shadon, and that's Lane Harvey there. So that was, I think, I can't remember, I think it was maybe at the VFW in Marion where we did this graduation. So it was really cool. Next slide. Okay, and there's Sam in Memphis again. That's last year in September at our Rotary event here in O'Fallon at the Regency in O'Fallon, Illinois, where we've done it recently. And that was Sam as our keynote speaker, and of course Memphis is there with him. Next slide. Okay, this is Oliver. This is our second Rotary dog, and again, he was married up with Mark, a Vietnam veteran, a couple years ago. Next slide. Yeah, there we are at the Harley Davidson. I think that might be in Carbondale. That's me with my uniform on, and Mary Alice, another member of our committee. We were honored to be there at the graduation where Mark was awarded Rotary Dog Oliver. Next slide. Okay, and I had already mentioned this. This is Dave and Claudia Chumley from our club that ponied up $25,000 for the organization, and we're able to get our third dog, Mary Catherine MCAT, because of their generosity and the generosity of people throughout the district. Next slide. And there's MCAT. I asked Pam Largent, is the director at TAV, to send me. I got to meet MCAT at the September graduation, but I forgot to get a picture. So Pam sent me this picture, and we're really excited about having our third Rotary dog next year. Next slide. Yeah, so I already mentioned 22 has been reduced to 20, and it's been that way for a couple years, and hard to believe that 20 veterans are still taking their lives every day. Next slide. Okay, so the other big team thing we do with the Veterans Affairs Committee for the district is Reads Across America. And this is a really cool organization. Been going on for 26 years, I believe, and 28 years, I'm sorry. And we'll go to the next slide, and I'll tell you a little bit about this organization. So Wreaths Across America is a movement to cover all veterans' grave markers with a Christmas wreath. And like I said, it's been observed annually for the last 28 years. Remember, honor, and teach. Wreaths Across America strives to remember our fallen heroes, honor those who serve, and teach our children about the selfless sacrifices made by veterans and their families to preserve our freedom. And when I first got involved with this organization, I wanted to see what it's all about. I went to Alton, Illinois, to a veteran cemetery, the national cemetery there. And it was really kind of cool because I thought the best thing about it was teaching our youth. There were several Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts there, and somebody had already placed a wreath at the headstones for our servicemen and women. And the way that organization did it was the Cub Scout or Boy Scout would take the wreath and hand it to a veteran in front of the headstone, and the veteran would place the wreath and say, "Thank you, Private Smith, for your service to our great nation." And I thought it was a great way to honor our veterans, our deceased veterans, and to teach our children the value of our veterans to American freedom. Next slide. So we started doing this in O'Fallon, and we started out with the city cemetery, and then we reached out to 2 other cemeteries that were older and didn't have nearly as many veterans or grave sites. But we expanded a year or 2 ago to Shiloh, which is actually my hometown, right next to O'Fallon, right outside Scott Air Force Base. And this year we're going to be doing 3 cemeteries in O'Fallon and 3 in Shiloh. That's me at the podium. I usually give a short brief on some of the things I'm talking to you about. We sometimes have Miss O'Fallon there sing the national anthem. That's our mayor of O'Fallon, Herb Roach. Behind me is a Vietnam War hero, a friend of mine that's on the committee also, Phil Goodwin. He is actually the narrator, and he tells the kids, we have Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts, well, I don't have Brownies anymore, I guess, but the Scouts, and then we bring in the junior ROTC cadets from O'Fallon Township High School, and Phil will go through each leg of the program and tell the Scouts what the significance of the 21-gun salute, which our VFW performs for us. Taps, we have 2 students from the high school band do echo taps, which is the end of the ceremony before the Scouts start laying the wreaths. We have the VFW Honor Guard post the colors, and one of our Rotarians does the invocation, and it's a really cool program, and it goes over very well. But again, primarily to teach the Scouts the value of our veterans. Next slide. Just a couple quotes. The executive director of Wreaths Across America says a person dies twice, once when they take their final breath and later the last time their name is spoken. So that's why we kind of say their names when we place the wreaths. To say the veteran's name out loud and take a moment to thank them for their service. And it's keeping the memory of our veterans alive. And she says, we're here to remember not their deaths, but their lives. Next slide. So again, a little bit of history here, real quickly. 2015, Carterville, Jim Coons, Rotarian. They started with 250 wreaths at Mounds City National Cemetery. In 2016, we expanded to 1,100 wreaths in the district. In 2017, 1,700 wreaths. In 2018, 2,800 wreaths. 2019, added a couple cemeteries, 6,000 wreaths last year. And this year with COVID, we've had some setbacks like everybody else has. But to date, we've sponsored over 5,500 wreaths, and we expect to be at 6,000 plus again by time December 21st, I think it is, comes around. And I did put the the Rotary District Wreaths Across America point of contact on there, Jim Kuntz, because he still helps me out quite a bit. He's got a good working relationship with Wreaths Across America, and he's better at ordering wreaths and getting me set up, so I go through Jim to help me out for our wreath buys. Next slide. So Carterville and Jackson Williamson Rotary Club are sponsoring their 5th this year, and looking at placing 3,500 plus wreaths on Mounds National Cemetery. Next slide. Kind of already mentioned this about my club, 3 O'Fallon, 3 Shallow. We'll be placing 740 wreaths this year on those 6 graves, and I put the Scouts and OTHS and again the VFW. We kind of come up with the money. The VFW Fallon V kind of sets up the podium and does a lot of other things for us with the 21 gun salute, the honor guard, and they set up the chairs and the tents, and it's really a good relationship we have with our own VFW, so that's cool. The wreaths cost $15 a piece, so for 740 wreaths, if you do the math, it's about $11,500 bucks. For 6,000 wreaths, that's about $90,000. People, I won't say throw the money at us, but it's such a good cause. When we do our fundraisers, you know, we do get people coming in at McAllister's here in Shiloh, and I've had somebody go, oh, here's 500 bucks, you know, for this good cause. Here's $750. I've been very impressed with people and their generosity. Next slide. So yeah, December 19th, I think it said the 21st, but it's the 19th this year, and it's grown every year. You can see over 1,600 locations in all 50 states. Jeff Barracks is huge, and there are a lot of wreaths laid there. I don't believe they can do the whole cemetery, but I think they do different sections, different years to try to hit all the graves at some time. Next slide. Okay, so I just put a couple of our program on here to give you an example. So these are all the Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts that help us out. And then we put the procedure in there to telling the Scouts, we tell them how to place the wreath and what they should say when they lay the wreath. Next slide. My club, you know, they help us out with the ceremony and with the raising the money, and just the men and women in my club easily give 2,000 bucks towards that $11,000 that we need to raise up. We had the O'Fallon Police Department, the Fraternal Order of Police, actually give us a $1,500 check a couple years ago, so we really appreciated that. Next slide. Okay, and this is just a sample program. I just put this on here because I wanted to show you that it's kind of a cool program for the children. And again, we explain each of these functions to the kids and the significance of each of these. Next slide. Okay, and I already mentioned this. Read the name on the headstone and thanking them for their service. Next slide. And again, this is just a sample of some of our donors in O'Fallon. You know, it's been very easy for us to raise the money. The organization gives us $5 back. So we pay 15 bucks for each wreath. And then after the December wreath laying, the organization gives us $5 back for each of those wreaths. And they kind of give us an account. So really the wreaths end up costing us about 10 bucks. And then sometimes they'll do a buy one, get one or a half price deal for $7.50. So luckily, my club said, hey, that was January of this year, hey, we're gonna buy those wreaths for basically half price, and we had enough money in our kitty to purchase almost all those wreaths for half of 11.5, about $6,000. And I had to use my own bank account for about $1,000, and the club will give that back to me as we raise more money. So we're good for this year, but when they offer that half price deal next year, we want to have some money in the bank again. So we're still looking to do some fundraisers. Go ahead, Rick. Okay, and this is a sample. McAllister's have been great. They give, usually it's on a Wednesday night between 5 and 8. They'll give us 10% of all their sales and then any tips. So the 10% sales is usually like 120, 150 bucks at McAllister's, but the tips are usually pretty huge. And we're not hard sellers. We just kind of put tip buckets at the cash registers, and then sometimes people will just hand me, like a couple people in our club are known to just hand me $100, and we try to recognize them in the program for their generosity. Next slide. And that's the front of our program. And then all I did, I put a couple of pictures in here. This was a young man from this past year. Go ahead, Rick. And then this is my club that showed up this past year. That's Phil Goodwin, the Vietnam F-105 fighter pilot. He did over 100 missions north in Vietnam. Their attrition rate, I'm thinking he was part of the Red River boys, I think they called them. And I believe he lost over half of his Vietnam veteran friends, probably more than half. Did not come home, and he did 100 missions north. And when you do that, you are sent home because your likelihood of surviving more missions, is reduced. It's pretty miraculous in Vietnam that you had 100 successful missions. And then that's just some other folks in my club, Rotarians, and Susan in the middle there is Dale Repright's spouse. Next slide. This is one of our young Rotarians in the club and his son, Jared Doolittle. Next slide. Okay, let's see if it comes up. There we go. Yeah, so I've already given you the update on sponsoring dogs. Our next dinner, it's just something the Rotary District does. And we usually do pretty good at these fundraisers, but the next one is on Saturday from 1 May at McKendree University here in Lebanon, Illinois, right up the road from us in O'Fallon. The next graduation, where MCAT will be with her veteran married up September 21. The color run, that's something down by your area, the Marion, Carterville clubs. They do a color run, and they give to, I think, 4 or 5 different organizations, but they do give the TAV, and it's usually a pretty big chunk of change. Honor flights. The Marion Club did a honor flight, for the veterans to the World War II Memorial, the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. I think it was about 2 years ago, and I don't know if they've done any more, but that was pretty cool. We're trying to get more involved with stuff like that.
Woody, they had 3 scheduled for this year. I don't know what their game plan is moving forward, but they've been doing 2 a year the last few years.
Oh, very good. I didn't know that.
Yeah, last year, I think it was, I see something popping up in the chat. I don't know, Faith, I can't see my chat window, but is Faith still on? Do you have anything you could add in for that, Faith?
Yeah, they've done several flights because of the virus. They've canceled it. They were supposed to do 3 this year, so they moved them to next year. My father and I flew on mission 2, and they've had 7 total flights so far to date, I believe.
Wow. Okay, I'll add that to my slide. Thank you for that. Is John Wolren from the Marion Club still the guru on that?
I don't know who is associated with Rotary, but
Okay.
Brian Questel is very involved, And I think if you go to their Facebook page, you'll follow or you'll see who all is involved. It's still pretty
Very
active.
good. Very good. Thank you. I'll look into that and try to update that. I'm briefing the Carlisle Club next Tuesday, so I'll have that updated. Thanks for that input. But that's about it for my brief. If anybody's interested in any of these things, you can get a hold of me. We'll be glad to hook you up. If you're interested in wreaths for your local cemeteries or something like that, you know, it's kind of easy for us. In O'Fallon, we've got about 85 members. I think about 40 of us are veterans. So, and then we have Scott Air Force Base right near us. So, you know, it's, in my mind, it's easy for us because of the military presence here. But if anybody's interested in any of these initiatives, I'll be glad to, you know, chat with you and try to get you hooked up. And that's about all I had. Thank you for the time. I enjoyed your meeting. It's similar to ours, but I liked your slides and your interaction. So thanks for letting me join you today.
Does anyone have any questions for our guest speaker today? Well, hearing none, we'll jump back over to our regularly scheduled program.
Can I have your armband? There we go.
Oh, maybe that was, I opened the wrong one. Let's see. This is the PowerPoint I wanted to share. There it is. All right, so next week we have Jackson County 708 Board. Margot Willis will be joining us, followed by Carbondale Crime Stoppers. Looking forward into November, Magdalena Duell, Maggie as I know her, from the Youth Action Committee in Jackson County will be joining us, doing a presentation about all the great things they've been doing, followed by Emily Burke on the 11th with Walker's Bluff. On the 18th, we'll have our grant recipients from the last year join us a little bit later in the year than we would have normally liked to think because of COVID here. And then the 25th, we're no meeting due to Thanksgiving. It's time for the four-way test. Linda Meredith, could you please lead us in the four-way test?
Yes. Would you please join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do? First, is it the truth? Second,
is it
fair
to all concerned?
Third, will it
build goodwill and better friendships?
And fourth, will it
be beneficial to all concerned?
That concludes our meeting today. We will see you all next week. As always, here's our website, and check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and this video will be uploaded to YouTube. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you, Rick.